Welcome, gentlemen. If you've ever had the quiet thought that romance and genuine connection are luxuries reserved for the young, you're not alone. Many older men step away from the dating world not due to lack of desire, but because they carry invisible burdens, self-doubt, fear of irrelevance, or uncertainty about where they stand in a rapidly changing landscape of relationships. But what if the very qualities you believe disqualify you are the ones that make you irresistibly distinct? What if your age, experience, emotional stability, and sense of self are not limitations, but rare assets? Let's explore the timeless traits that many younger women genuinely seek in a man, traits that can't be faked, fast-tracked, or replaced by youthful charm. 1. Kindness, the most underestimated form of strength in today's world. Where fast attraction often outshines deep connection, kindness is frequently overlooked. But for many women, especially those who have been emotionally burned or exhausted by superficial games, kindness is magnetic. Kindness isn't weakness, it's emotional maturity in action. It's a man listening with intention, acting with respect, and treating others not based on what he wants from them, but because of who he is. Women instinctively notice when a man interacts with grace and grounded presence. His kindness isn't a tactic. It's a reflection of deep-rooted self-respect and empathy, and this creates a sense of emotional safety, something younger, more impulsive partners often fail to offer. For a woman, the memory of how a man makes her feel, especially how safe, respected, and seen she feels in his presence, lingers longer than any compliment or flirtation ever will. 2. Style and presence. Showing you still care how a man dresses speaks volumes before he ever opens his mouth. Clothes are not about chasing trends or disguising age. They're about expressing intentionality and pride. Wearing clothing that fits well, suits your age, and shows attention to detail signals that you still engage with life, that you still value yourself. And in a world where so many people give up on self-care as they age, this effort stands out. Even more subtle is scent. A consistent, well-chosen cologne becomes a quiet signature, a sensory cue that lingers in the air long after you've left the room. Scent is deeply connected to memory and emotion, and a man who understands that uses it not as a seduction tactic, but as an extension of his presence. This isn't about vanity. It's about sending a powerful signal. I haven't given up on life, and I won't give up on you either. 3. Maturity. Your calm is her anchor. The modern world is chaotic, emotionally charged, and noisy. Younger women often find themselves swimming in a sea of confusion between fast-paced dating, shallow connections, and emotional immaturity. That's why emotional maturity becomes a powerful draw. A man who doesn't react impulsively, who doesn't seek validation through arguments or attention, who listens more than he speaks and responds instead of reacts. Maturity isn't something you flaunt. It shows in how you hold space for others, how you handle silence without discomfort, how you remain composed in the face of conflict. For a woman who has experienced unpredictable relationships, your emotional steadiness is not just a breath of fresh air. She doesn't fall for the drama anymore. She falls for the stillness. And in your calm, she finds clarity. She feels safe to be herself without fear of emotional whiplash. 4. Honesty. The foundation of real trusting. A world full of emotional games, manipulative tactics, and honesty is revolutionary. True honesty doesn't mean being blunt or confrontational. It means being real, sharing your thoughts and feelings with clarity and integrity. It's not about saying what a woman wants to hear, but about being courageous enough to say what's true, even when it's difficult. This kind of transparency builds a solid foundation. It removes the guesswork. A woman doesn't have to analyze your texts or decode your tone. She knows where she stands. That consistency creates comfort and reliability. And here's the kicker: honesty begins within. A man who is honest with others is almost always someone who has finally become honest with himself. That self-alignment is felt immediately. It's grounded, trustworthy, and deeply attractive. 5. Positivity and joy. A man who doesn't need saving. There is something truly magnetic about a man who enjoys his life not in a flashy, performative way, but with quiet contentment. This is emotional self-sufficiency. A man who doesn't need a woman to complete him, but welcomes her into a life that is already full. He laughs freely, finds meaning in small things. He's passionate about his work, hobbies, or causes, not because he's seeking validation, but because they matter to him. Younger women often feel immense pressure to be impressive, entertaining, or constantly desirable. When they encounter a man who simply is, who's joyful, peaceful, and stable, it gives them permission to relax, to be authentic. That kind of joy can't be faked. It radiates from someone who has done the inner work, faced rejection, sat with loneliness, healed old wounds, and come out more whole than before. It doesn't mean he's without pain, but that he stopped expecting others to fix it. A woman senses that. She sees the man who doesn't chase attention, yet effortlessly holds it. And in a world where so many are emotionally hungry, your contentment becomes a rare kind of wealth. Closing thoughts. Your age is your edge. It's easy to believe that youth holds the monopoly on attraction. But the truth is, depth is far more enduring than surface appeal. The traits we've discussed, kindness, emotional presence, maturity, honesty, a refined personal style, and inner joy are not gimmicks. They're not tricks to get the girl. They're signs of a man who has arrived at something rare, a deep acceptance of who he truly is. You don't need to be younger. You don't need to reinvent yourself. You simply need to step into your truth with confidence. In a world full of noise, the man who carries his years with grace and lives with purpose becomes impossible to ignore, so don't count yourself out. Don't retreat quietly into the background. Be seen not because you shout, but because you shine. Let's keep the conversation going. Have your years brought unexpected wisdom or surprising clarity in love? What moments helped you realize your value as a man? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're ready to keep growing emotionally, spiritually, relationally, consider subscribing. There's more to explore. You're just getting started.